Most people don't separate sexual attraction and romantic attraction, but for people on the asexual spectrum, like myself, they can be very different things. This is Asexual Awareness Week. It runs October 23rd through 29th of 2016, and if you'd like to learn more about asexuality, please stick around. So I want to be really clear right up front about one thing. Asexuality refers to the lack of sexual attraction. Asexuals do not experience sexual attraction. It's not being celibate or not having sex. There's a wide variety of different expressions of asexuality, which we're going to talk about, and there's a wide variety of sexual expressions amongst asexuals, which we will also talk about. But I need to stress, asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction. It has to do with who you are, or rather in this case, aren't attracted to, and not anything to do with how much sex you have. So there are different types of asexuals. I mentioned an asexual spectrum. So there are demisexuals, and they are people who only feel attraction after they've formed a bond with a person. So they tend to date friends and that kind of thing, where a deeper relationship will then transform into a sexual relationship with sexual attraction. They can't just meet somebody, see someone walking down the street and be like, oh, they're hot. You know, they might find them aesthetically pleasing, they might like their style, but they're not going to feel sexual attraction until they get to know the person and form a bond. The next category of asexuals are gray asexuals or grey-sexual. That's the category that I fall into. And grey-sexuals will go, they very rarely experience sexual attraction. So in my case, I'm currently with somebody and I find them very sexually attractive, but before that, it was a couple of years before I found somebody sexually attractive. It's something that very rarely happens to us. And like I said, we're not just like really, really picky and only like a certain type or anything like that. It's just that we don't experience sexual attraction the way, you know, normal people do, just for lack of a better word. And of course, there are simply asexuals, and they don't experience sexual attraction at all to anybody, ever. And that's okay too. I think it's really important to remember that asexuality, whether it's demisexual, you know, grey-sexual, or simply asexual entirely, it's not, you know, something that's happened because something bad happened to us in the past. It's not because we have mental health issues. It's not because of anything like that. It's simply the way we are. If you can think about it, it is an orientation. So think about it like being straight or gay. I mean, you wouldn't ask somebody, well, why are you straight? You know, like, what happened to you to make you straight? Like, it's just the way you're born. It's just the way you are. I've always been like this. If you talk to most asexuals, they'll tell you the same thing, that they've always been this way. They just simply do not experience attraction. And it's nothing that needs to be cured. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, obviously, if it's, you know, if you find it, you personally are asexual and you find it stressful, you find it distressing, then you should absolutely seek out therapy to deal with that. But there is nothing wrong with somebody for being asexual. It's just the way we are. So I mentioned in the intro the difference between sexual attraction and romantic attraction. The difference is romantic attraction refers to who you want to be in a relationship with versus who you would like to have sex with. Those can be totally different things. So along the romantic spectrum, there can be, you know, homoromantic, heteroromantic, if you're attracted to either same gender or opposite gender. You can also have panromantic, people that that are attracted to people in general that don't necessarily prescribe to a gender binary. Sorry, I was tripping over my own words there. There's also people who are known as aromantic, and very much like asexual, aromantic means that they don't have romantic attraction to anyone. So you could be a sexual person, but aromantic, or you can be asexual and also aromantic. So you're just really not interested in having intimate relationships with pretty much anyone. You're happy with platonic friendships, and just, you know, hanging out, being friends. You know, aromantics don't necessarily want to be like little hermits and hide away. They still want friendship and connection with people, just not on a romantic level. And that's perfectly okay as well. So let's talk about sex and, of course, BDSM, because this is a BDSM channel. So the desire for sex is, of course, different than both of those other things. So the desire for sex is separate from your sexuality, and it's separate from your romantic orientation. So, you know, just like we have straight people that have varying degrees of sex drive or libido, homosexual people who have varying degrees of sex drive, libido, asexuals are the same. Some asexuals enjoy having sex. Some of them don't really want any sex, but they'll entertain a partner if that's important to their partner. And there are some asexuals who are really put off by sex entirely and are not interested in doing it at all. Now, all of those kind of, and of course, there's all kinds of things in between there. I personally go back and forth between enjoying sex, doing it to make a partner happy, and just generally not being very interested in sex. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with my partner. It has everything to do with me. I find that my desire for sex fluctuates along with the level of pain that I have. I do have a chronic pain disorder that affects the nerves in my body. And it's called, for those of you who are interested, it's called chronic regional pain syndrome, or CRPS. But it really affects my desire for sex and can cause me to lose interest in sex entirely for just various periods of time. And I just want to point out too that, and I know that I talked about this right at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to reiterate that choosing not to have sex does not make one asexual. That makes one celibate. Somebody else in, like, say, a BDSM situation enforcing that you don't have sex is chastity. It's not asexuality. I can't, you know, force my partner to be asexual because he isn't. He's straight. But I can put him in chastity if I want. So again, some asexuals enjoy sex. Some do it to make a partner happy. Some are put off by sex. Others fluctuate through all three of those things, or between two, or whatever. Some are okay with doing sexual things for their partner, but not reciprocating, not having it reciprocated. So oral or manual sex, but not having anybody touch their own genitals. Of course, masturbation is also a thing, and some asexuals will masturbate because they get sexual pleasure from it. Others will masturbate because they feel a pressure that needs to be relieved, or they're just kind of cleaning the pipes. It's being described by some. And then other asexuals just don't masturbate. They don't see the point in it. Asexuality has been gaining a lot of visibility and acceptance over the last couple of years. I know that it's something that I only fairly recently discovered for myself, probably about 5 years ago or so. Before that, I simply identified as queer. And I think that a lot of asexuals do the same thing. There are ways to express asexuality in ways in the queer community. The idea of a stone lesbian is one of them. So that's somebody who, you know, performs sexual acts for their partner, but does not want their own genitals to be touched, or to, again, that sexual activity to be reciprocated. I think the way that most of us are more familiar with that is a stone butch. But you know, lesbians express themselves in many, many different ways. So that is one option that you do find some asexual people taking. I always identified as queer just because I couldn't figure out where I fit into this great big world of sexual identity and orientation. So I now still refer to myself as queer quite often, but I have recognized that I am asexual, gray asexual, and I'm panromantic. I do have relationships with people of all genders. or no gender as well. So there is some of us within the queer community, some, didn't join the queer community, and that's okay. There's varying degrees of acceptance of us within the queer community as well. Some people, welcome us into that umbrella. It's, LGBTQIA, and the A is for asexuals. I don't know where the whole A is for allies started, but no, that's our letter. I'm not sure why allies would get a letter in the alphabet soup, but some people, again, they do think that means it stands for ally instead of asexuals. But some in the queer community don't feel that we should be a part of it, because if we aren't attracted to anyone, then, why are we there? Asexuals do tend to blend into society a little easier. Of course, we still get, well, I don't think anyone refers to an unmarried woman as a spinster anymore, but we do, of course, suffer, and especially those of us who are female or woman identified do suffer from a lot of discrimination as far as that goes. People who are man identified can get away with it a lot easier. They are just, an eternal bachelor. But there is a lot of pressure on us to conform to society. But we can, at the same time, blend a little easier, especially if we are interested in romantic relationships. Now, when it comes to BDSM and asexuals, you'll find that there are actually quite a few of us in the community. I think that BDSM works well with asexuality. Within the community, there's all kinds of people who separate kink and sex, not because they're asexual, but just because that's how they're wired, or they have a spouse that they are sexually monogamous with that isn't interested in BDSM, and then they come out to the community for non-sexual play. So non-sexual BDSM play is, is quite accepted and considered to be normal. In fact, at most parties that you go to, sex won't be allowed, and you'll see lots of, non-sexual play. There's also a lot of platonic play. So friends will be like, oh, hey, I'm up for a spanking today. You want to be spanked? And you'll play that way. It's totally normal within the BDSM community. There's also sort of a different view of sex and different ways of having sex within the BDSM community that you don't see so much in vanilla world. There's strap-on sex and, of course, oral and manual sex and all kinds of other things. So there's different ways to have sex that may be more comfortable for a lot of asexuals. BDSM also offers us a way to be intimate with a partner without having sex, and that's something that I really enjoy about it. I can feel very close to my partner without having, typical penis and vagina sex. So that is something that is really nice. You can also have, people commonly have, SM, so sadism and masochism, that sort of play without sex. People have entire DS, dominant, submissive relationships without sex. So it is a lot more accepted, although maybe not necessarily so visible within BDSM communities, because a lot of people are already doing what we do. And so it's hard to tell the difference. So if you do have a partner who is asexual, or you suspect that you may be asexual, I'm going to link in the description box to the Asexual Visibility Network. They are amazing. They have all kinds of information about asexuality and forums and everything else. There's a lot of amazing support there, so you can find a community of your own. If you do have any questions about asexuality, you're welcome to leave them in the comments, but I will ask that you be respectful, and please don't tell me that only amoebas are asexual, because that is not the way that we are using the word here. And I've heard it 10,000 times before. I'm really kind of bored with it. So please do be respectful in the comments. I'm happy to answer any honest questions that you have. And if it requires another video, I'll make another video. If not, I'll just answer right there in the comments. So please, if you enjoyed this video, like it, give me a thumbs up. and subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about BDSM. And I'm sure that I'll end up doing another asexual video at some point as well. And so especially if you are an ace and you're into BDSM, you know, subscribe to my channel, and I will be talking about all kinds of different ways that asexuality and BDSM intersect. So anyways, thanks very much and have a good day. See ya.